Welcome to the channel. This was our last and final cutting hay of the season. We stacked it on the wagons, or the wagon, the way you see it here, just in case there were some bales that had a little more moisture than others. Majority of the bales that did have that moisture were stacked here, and they were stacked in the back. We already did pull one out, and we're feeding that already to the goats, just because I questioned it a little bit. So I'm gonna take the moisture tester, and we're gonna just check some of these bales and make sure they're good. If they are all in fact good, and we're not gonna check every single one, but the ones that I had in question, then we're gonna try and consolidate this pile a little bit, and then we'll unload the wagon completely, and then we can put the wagon away and get it out of here. Overall, these bales feel pretty good. So this bale right here is running about 10.5. That's more than dry enough. Yep, 10.7. That one's about 11. As I said, I'm not really concerned about the ones on the wagon. Majority of those I think were pretty good. They felt good. It's gonna end up being the ones back here. Probably those two for sure. And we already swapped one of these out. Got 10.8 on that one. $10.4. $11. So we might be all right. 10. 10. 11. 8. 11.3. 12. 11. 10. I'm going to say we're pretty good. A lot of these, they feel good. I'll check some of them, like this one for instance, make sure it's not heating up, but the moisture tester is going to basically tell me that already. Yeah, it feels good. So this is really nice second cutting hay and final cutting. We didn't get a third cutting. It's just getting too late in the season and the temperatures were too hot, grass didn't grow, and now it's cooling down with heavy dew at night. I would say the majority of this hay is reading between the 10 and 11% mark. 11. 11.3. And this would be this year's first cutting, which would be cured by now and dry. You can see that's reading about 8.4, so definitely not far off from that. It's kind of crazy how green and nice looking this hay is. And this first cutting stuff was very similar to that, and it's just crazy how it goes from kind of looking like that to almost looking like straw. But that's just how hay cures. You break it open on the inside and it's green. Much bigger difference. And quite honestly, I don't think I really have to worry that much about creating a big space and creating room in here, because this is our final cutting. We're done for this year. So I don't really have to worry about fitting more hay in here. So I could keep this where it is, but I think I might take like maybe 2 of those rows and we'll just start stacking them up, and then the rest of the wagon can go over there as well. And let's be honest, the less hay you have sitting on the ground, the better. These two here were actually first cutting that I re-baled, or that were in the baler. So those will get thrown over on that side. Well, that went pretty smooth. Now we have a good, decent pile there. This wagon works really well for basically everything I've used it for so far. I've used it for firewood, I've used it for hay. It's got many uses. This, I believe, if I remember correctly, is one of the first projects that we ever had in the shop that we completed and completely restored this for the most part. We obviously didn't do like wheel bearings and replace all that kind of stuff, but we repainted everything, cleaned it all up. This thing looked very, very rough. I'll put a link to that playlist right up here. Check it out if you want to. Now we'll hook up to this probably with the four-wheeler, back this back in the shed, and get this out of the way in the barn. I'll give you an overview of what we're looking at here in the barn, because there is many different stacks and piles. So starting right over here, this would be 2 summers ago hay, which I wouldn't even really consider this hay. This is more so, I'm trying to actually sell this currently for like a mulch hay, bedding hay, stuff like that, because the quality is just so poor. It was cut extremely late, and some of these other bales have some good hay in it, but they were the ones that were sitting on the bottom of the pile. So I'm not gonna bother wasting my time to try and feed that stuff and sort through it, because we do have all this other stuff. So jumping across to the other side, this would be last year's hay cutting, and there's some first cutting in here, a lot of second cutting. So it's kind of a mix, but this is last year's. And we have quite a few bales of that left yet. And then we have this year's first cutting right here, which we were still trying to figure out the baler, so the piles didn't stack the best. The bales weren't as tight as I would have liked them to be. We had to make some modifications to get it to feed evenly in there. So fast forwarding to second cutting, much different result, much more tighter, square bale, much more uniform. And this is what's making the barn smell so good right now. So we have a lot of hay left right now. More than we're gonna need this winter for the goats. We're gonna have plenty. So I'll probably may try and sell some of it and get it out of here, make room for next year. That is definitely hard with a four-wheeler. This thing doesn't turn as sharp as I would prefer it to because of the tires hitting the frame. Well, that's a wrap on putting the hay away. It's amazing how much more room there is in here when there's not a hay wagon sitting in the way. Definitely happy we got what we got. Huge plus there. Luna's exploring the hay bales in the back. Silly cat. Now I'll take you guys for a ride on kind of the daily thing that I do every day. That's feeding the animals. We'll feed all the rabbits, and we have some little tiny additions this year. They're a little squeamish. But fluff balls for sure. Kind of a mixed color here. They're all over the place. This one. Different. First, we'll grab a bale of hay. Then our pellets. Then we give a bundle of hay to each one. We move on to the chicks. Next is goats, turkeys, and chickens. And they know it's time too. A lot of people have mixed feelings on grain. So before anybody says it, we don't give grain all the time. It's basically maybe once, twice a week, but hay every day. The boys get grain even less than that. And they don't move out of your way either. Not doing good on eggs lately. Last but not least, check, make sure the turkeys don't need anything. Food and water lasts them quite a while. Still 9 in here, so that's a plus. And plug the electric fence back in. Stacking the hay, done. Feeding the animals, done. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is just one of the many things that I do here. Thanks so much for watching. As always, have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Harvest is coming fast.